Okay, in this video we're going to talk about how you set up the remote logging template. However, before we take that step, in the machine that we were just logging, we set up our live capture in. I'd like you to minimize that, and you have to figure out what the IP address is of the machine that you're logging events in via Thunder Hockey. So from that machine, you're going to want to go to the Start menu and find Windows Command Processor, or you can find that probably find it in the bottom tray of your screen. And when you click on it, you'll just get this black, archaic looking screen. I'm just going to type in ipconfig, just those 8 simple letters, ipconfi, oops, config, ipconfig, and hit enter. And what that does is it shows us what the IP address is of the machine. We don't want the wireless IP address. What we're looking for is the Ethernet adapter, because we're using an Ethernet cord to hook ourselves up to the router, and we need to find out what the address is of that router. So the IP address for this computer to that router is the IPv4 address. That is 10.0.0.2. It's always going to be very similar to this. This last number is probably going to change from time to time. It might be 10.0.0.1 on one night. It might be 0.3 on another night. In this situation, it's 0.2. Now, the purposes of making this video, the next part is actually going to be a little bit different. It's going to change to 0.3. But when you look it up, if it says 0.2, you're going to write this number in the space that's asked for in this next screen. Okay, now when you open up the remote logging template on the other computer that you're just using the remote logger on and logging time on ice, you can find it on the desktop, or you find it down in the tray. When you hover over it, it should say remote logging tool, not Thunder Hockey. The icons do look the same. So I'm going to launch the program, and it looks like this. Once I get it up, I'm going to expand it, and the first thing that I'm going to want to do is give it a name. All right, I'm going to give it the same name that I gave the file in the Thunder machine. So I'm going to click on this button here, and I'm going to name it Game 09 vs. Saratoga Period 1. Okay, and then I hit open. All right, the remote host is where we're going to put in that IP address. I just showed you that it was 0.2, but as I was saying, I had to switch computers for the purposes of this video, and the remote host address that we're actually going to use is 0.3. Okay, if you notice down in the corner here, it says offline at this point in time. When I click on connect, if I have the right address in here and everything is set up the way it should be, it might take a second or two, but you'll see that this will change down at the bottom from offline to connected to 10.003. And when it does connect, all these fields should fill in with the information from the Thunder machine, which is what we want. The only thing that's not filled in at this point, see, it already knows that we're playing Saratoga. The only thing that we need to fill in is the period, because that's going to change every time you create a new file at the beginning of a period. You're just going to go ahead and select 1 for the first period, and you'll see that the information will populate the rest of the screen. So at this point, what we're going to do to hide this part of the setup screen is just click on Setup and Reports, and it'll slide out of our way. And this is the view that we're going to be using for the remote logging template. Again, just like on Thunder, we're going to want to use the game clock and the strength. So both computer operators will be tracking the game clock on their own separate computers, and they will also both be tracking the strength. Games always start off as 5 on 5. The cool thing about the strength is if we're ever on a power play and you have to select 5-on-4, it will automatically select 4-on-5 for our opponent. Okay, so at this point I'm going to go back to 5-on-5. Just like I did in Thunder, I'm going to change the game time from 20 to 15 minutes. And when you're in the remote logging tool, operating the clock is very easy. It's just using the space bar. When I tap on the space bar, the clock will turn green and it'll start to tick down. When I tap on the space bar again, it'll freeze the video. On the Thunder computer, you can't use the space bar for whatever reason. They've got the space bar tagged to another feature. So we've assigned the 0 key on the numeric keypad, which is on the right hand side of the keyboard, as your start and stop. Or you can always simply just use your mouse and click on it to start and click on it to stop. Okay, we're going to actually reset this back to 15 minutes. Hit OK. And to start the game, these are our lines. Now, Division I teams and pro teams, they usually track their opponent's time on ice as well as their own players. We're not going to do that, so I don't need you to worry about the opponent for right now. I just want you to focus on our players and our team. Usually when we start a game, we'll put our first line out there. So you can click offensive line number 1 and it'll select all 3. Again, clicking this hyperlink for the defensive pair will select both players. Okay, and when the opening face-off happens, either hit the space bar or click on the score clock, and you'll see that as soon as the clock starts ticking down and it's in green, it will log the information that I've selected. It shows me that Marty McCrudden and Marson and Haldane, Relier, and McKinnon are all on the ice at the time. Those are the players that I've selected. Okay, and whenever I stop the game clock with the click of a mouse or the space bar, it logs that information too, so we can always tell how long they've been on the ice for. Let's say a whistle happened at 14:35 and these players leave the ice and the second line comes on. I simply click the second line, deselect the first line, same with a defensive pair. Clicking on the link turns them all on or all off. And then I can click this again and more information has been stored down here. You could even see the clock in and the clock out seconds has been stored as well. Okay, so a lot of times in hockey though, where it gets confusing is players will do what we call changing on the fly, where they won't wait for a whistle, they'll come off in the middle of the play. Usually the centers, which are listed down here in the middle, will only change for centers. So chances are when this player comes off the ice, this player will step on. So you can just simply select this player and deselect this one. When this player comes off, chances are this player might be coming on, and same with this player. Now let's say we have another stoppage in time. If we change all the players, you can just simply hit close all and start over. Maybe the referee raised his arm and called a penalty, and now all of a sudden we have a power play. Well, you're going to want to switch our stamper to 5-on-4 and then come down here and select our power play group. All 5 of these players will be selected if you hit that hotkey. And then when you hit the start button again, it'll start logging the 5-on-4 crew that's on the ice. At the end of the period, all you need to do is close all and go back to setups, and when as soon as you've done this, all of this information that you've logged is already being put over onto the Thunder machine, so you don't have to worry about what's here. You can simply just go ahead and create a file for your next period, which is done here.